You know, I try to avoid politics generally on this show, but we need to talk about the fact that the Democrats won control of the Senate. Because for the last few months, the conventional wisdom in Silicon Valley was, we'd probably see a Democratic president, but as long as Congress was divided, it was unlikely that much of the status quo would be meaningfully disrupted, at least in terms of regulation and legislation. Well, Protocol has a look at what is now possible or even possibly likely now that Democrats are running the show. First of all, remember, it was the Democrats that were the most aggressive with antitrust stuff. Quote, antitrust reform actually has a shot in the 117th Congress, and Democrats have already put together a 449-page report laying out their game plan. Conversations about updating centuries-old trust-busting statutes will likely begin with that blueprint from Representative David Cicilline, which claims big tech has, quote, monopoly power and should be broken up. Cicilline campaigned aggressively for President-elect Joe Biden and maintains close relationships on his transition team. While he won't be able to get all of his biggest ideas through a narrowly divided Senate, which still requires 60 votes for most legislation, even moderate Democrats like Senator Amy Klobuchar have said it's time to overhaul antitrust laws for the digital age. Reforms could include making it harder for big tech to acquire potential rivals and passing new rules around how corporations can muscle into new markets. At the very least, Congress is more likely than ever to inject real money into the Federal Trade Commission and Department of Justice to support their antitrust lawsuits against the tech giants. Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell will likely become the new chair of the powerful Senate Commerce Committee if she wants it. If she does, she'll no doubt elevate her Consumer Online Privacy Rights Act, a comprehensive federal privacy framework that she first introduced last year. Earlier this year, Cantwell criticized the array of other privacy bills in Congress, particularly those from her Republican counterparts on the committee. Quote, these bills allow companies to maintain the status quo, burying important disclosure information in long contracts, hiding where consumer data is sold, and changing the use of consumer data without their consent, she said. COPPRA would give users the right to see and delete any personal information that companies have amassed about them and require tech companies to clearly explain what they are doing with users' data. It also includes provisions that would allow individuals to sue companies over privacy violations and enable states to pass their own separate privacy legislation. Those line items will certainly spur partisan wrangling and invite significant pushback from tech giants who have consistently argued that federal legislation should override state laws. Those line items will certainly spur partisan wrangling and invite significant pushback from tech giants who have consistently argued that federal legislation should override state laws. And Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris have pledged to focus on civil rights across all policy areas, and tech won't be any exception. It's safe to expect that Congress will work to tackle issues including discriminatory algorithms and biased facial recognition technology over the next year, especially considering Harris herself has signed on to legislation that would tackle racial bias in AI, end quote. Also likely on the agenda, expanding high-skilled immigration, which is something that tech actually wants. And also, if any reform happens around Section 230 over the next couple of years, the piece says it's likely it'll be just that, a reform, not a repeal, as some Republicans have been pushing for.